All right, music fans, welcome back again to the Real Music Observer. My name is Dave, observing real music in real time for real people just like you right there and me here. As we reported yesterday, we being me, Triz Imboden decided to call it quits, saying on Twitter and on Facebook that he will no longer be touring with the band Chicago, and he's looking for another band or artist to hang out with, but not tour as much with. So Triz scaling it back. The big question on this video: will Chicago ask Danny Seraphine back into the band? That's the question. Danny Seraphine was dismissed back in 1990, more or less for dereliction of duty. At least that's the way the band has portrayed it in their documentary. They go into detail saying Danny took a trip to England where they were to play a show, and they hadn't played a show there in a while because apparently Terry Kath ticked them off when they were touring there back in the 70s, and jolly old England didn't want them back for quite some time. And this was more or less their re-inaugural gig. And Seraphine apparently went on a whirlwind tour with his wife, driving around and looking at England. And by the time he got to the gig, he wasn't really prepared for the gig. And the other big issue with Danny was he was late for rehearsals and so forth, or not prepared. And then the other big issue was the fact that technology had kind of gone by Danny, and Danny wasn't ready for the click and all the other things that you can do with a drum kit at that moment, which, by the way, were very fleeting, and it's all period piece music now. Nobody's using that technology, well, unless you're some sort of retro 80s band and you want to sound like, I don't know, the Thompson Twins or something. The point being is that Danny, I think, is still a very accomplished drummer. And keep in mind, this is an important fact, and it can't be denied. Once Triz joined Chicago, Chicago didn't have any more hit songs. They had a very minor hit on Top 40 with Chasing the Wind, stalled at number 39, and that's the first album Triz played on. And then, again, the conspiracy theory, like I keep saying, I don't know if it was Triz's fault, but just keep in mind, Danny can play the catalog going back from there, because Chicago really doesn't do anything live from any album, after 19. They pretty much play 19 and back. So Danny was there for all of that, and Danny was a leader in the band for a long time. In the documentary, you get the impression that, hey, maybe Danny shouldn't have been a leader, but then there's a scene where Jimmy Pankow is sitting there, and he goes, millions of dollars, and he's chewing on some gum, and he stops, and he says, millions of dollars were lost because nobody read the contracts. And like the Little River Band, had to throw that in there. But here's Danny Seraphine saying, hey, how come you guys don't read the contracts? You should really start reading those. And it was almost portrayed that Danny is on a power trip and Danny's doing things he shouldn't do. I think Danny had the best interests of the band in mind. Apparently, Danny had a violent temper and so forth. He's an Italian, right? Seraphine, I think he's Italian. I'm sorry to excuse. That's probably not a good excuse. But the bottom line is, can Danny Seraphine play drums? Yes. Is he a great drummer? Is he an innovative drummer? Absolutely. Could this band get a little shot in the arm having an original guy back in the band rather than importing another unknown quantity? I mean, look, I love a lot of the replacement guys. I think I love everybody who's been brought in, and I loved Triz. I didn't have a problem with him. But you're starting to get a balance of power, which is, it's starting to look like a tribute band rather than Chicago. And I think it would be good PR to bring Danny back to show that there are no hard feelings. And I think Danny would just kill it on tour live. I don't know if he wants to tour as much as their schedule right now is dictating that they tour. That's the reason. If you look at their schedule, it's nuts. I went back and looked at all the dates, and then they take a break in April, and then they're back at it in May, and they're just a touring machine. And they're supposed to all be on stage playing and then drop dead, according to Robert Lamb and Lee Loughnane and Jimmy Pankow, who've said that on a few occasions. While Parazator, who's still listed as being in the band, isn't touring. He's not live. He hasn't been live for a number of years. It's just, I would bring Danny back. I would say, hey, come on back. And I think it would be good for the band. And I think it would mend old wounds and maybe, just maybe, give Chicago a bit of a shot in the proverbial arm. All right, so I don't know what your feelings are. Yes, the comments are going to be open now. Yay. Don't forget, Patreon, $1 a month. That's all I'm asking. $1 a month. Follow the link on this YouTube page. Patreon, $1. We've had a few contributions come in today. Yay. This will keep the channel going because YouTube is, I'm not going to say anything bad about YouTube, but you saw the letter that they sent because I posted it on Facebook and Twitter. And who knows what will happen to this channel on February 20th. Nobody has sent me an email back or telling me it's a mistake, so we don't know. So help support the Real Music Observer. It'll keep these videos on YouTube, and quite frankly, if I get enough pledges, I can talk a little bit more freely, if you know what I mean. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll be back real soon with more real music in real time for real people just like you right there and me right here. Talk to you then.